5 in the morning on KTRS.
What's going on with the intelligence community? Julian Assange, hacking, Russia, CIA, all of that is talked about in a brand new book. Bill Gertz is a national security columnist for the Washington Times. His new book is called iWAR, War and Peace in the Information Age. Good morning, Bill Gertz. Welcome to KTRS here in St. Louis.
Hi, good morning. Good to be on the show.
First, let's talk about, do you think Russia is actually hacking into the DNC, the RNC, and where do you come down on all this latest news?
Yeah, there's no question that the Russians were conducting cyber attacks on our political institutions, the DNC, John Podesta. I think the question that hasn't been answered yet is why were they doing it? Clearly, this was information that was damaging to one party. But the question is, were they trying to help Donald Trump? Today, the Senate Armed Services Committee is having a hearing. They're going to have the top intelligence chiefs in to talk about it. The question in my mind is, there's no question that for 10 years, the Russians have been conducting aggressive cyber attacks. What's new is this influence operation, and this is what I call information warfare. They're using information not just to steal secrets and help their own intelligence services, but to try and influence policies and ultimately try and weaken the U.S. and promote their own policies and strategies.
Bill Gertz, the problem some people have is that they hurt the prevailing opinion is that they did damage to the Democrats. But if they had done damage to the Republicans and the conservatives would be much more outraged. Isn't that dangerous to play politics when you have an act of war by a foreign government?
Well, it's very interesting to me. Last week, the FBI and DHS issued a statement about this Russian influence operation toward the election. And the thing that jumped out at me was they said that this type of activity has been going on for 10 years. So this is not a new phenomena. I think it certainly was heightened by the political season last year, but it's not limited to just the political system. They've been inside of our critical infrastructure, specifically doing reconnaissance operations on the electrical grid. They've been inside the financial networks, trying to figure out how they could shut down those networks in a crisis or future conflict. So in addition to strengthening defenses, we've got to be able to create a deterrence mechanism. In other words, we're going to have the ability to get inside of their critical infrastructures and say, look, if you try to do this, the same thing's going to happen to you.
Bill Gertz, the book is called iWAR, War and Peace in the Information Age. We have a president-elect who doesn't believe what you're saying. He says he's not so sure that Russia did it, and he says any 10-year-old can do it. Why are you so sure Russia did it?
Well, I've been covering intelligence issues for decades, and I can tell you that the one agency that we haven't heard from yet, and we probably won't, is the National Security Agency. They have the goods on the Russians from a technical standpoint. As far as the influence and the analysis and whether they were trying to influence the election, that's not their goal. But proving that the Russians actually conducted the attacks, I think the intelligence is very, very good. How good is the NSA? In iWAR, I point out that NSA is so good at cyber intelligence that they can break into the networks of foreign intelligence services and steal the information that they're getting from their spies without them knowing about it. So that's how good they are. So we've got a very, very good technical intelligence side, but on the influence and counter-influence, counteracting disinformation, that's the area that we're the weakest, and they're working to try and fix that. Just recently in the defense bill that was signed by the president into law, they're calling for the creation over the next 6 months of a new global engagement center, which is something that I'm advocating in the book. We need some new institution to be able to deal with this new threat.
Let me get this straight. A national security columnist from the Washington Times is praising President Obama and his administration for doing something?
Well, it was Congress. It wasn't him. He signed it into law.
He signed it. Well, but yeah. the president-elect doesn't believe you. Are you worried that he does not take this threat seriously?
Well, he has expressed skepticism, and I'm a little worried about that. I think he's supposed to be getting a briefing this week from the intelligence chiefs. I think he's been cautious about it. He's expressing skepticism over intelligence. After all, the CIA under Obama has been very politicized. Brennan is one of the closest advisors to Obama, and according to CIA people that I've talked to, he's done a lot that has really politicized the agency and reduced its effectiveness. I asked one former CIA guy, Brad Johnson, I said, if you were in charge, could the CIA today do information warfare? And he said they're incapable of it. They've so denigrated their capabilities for spying and covert operations. Basically, they've become like a drone strike service, identifying targets and attacking them with drones. But there needs to be a lot of reforms. I think they're going to make some of those reforms. The people that Trump has appointed, General Mattis at the Pentagon, Mike Pompeo at CIA, I think they're going to make some really good reforms down the road.
Bill Gertz, national security columnist for the Washington Times. His new book is iWAR, War and Peace in the Information Age. Bookstores and online, as always. Bill Gertz, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
7:56 KTR.